Digby Pate. A handicap start for the MTA Drive Cars, Classic Sports and GTs, and this is going to make an exciting race around the waterfront circuit in Wellington, because these wonderful sports and GT cars are starting from a reverse grid, so it's the slowest qualifiers that have headed away first. Winston Wrigley, Quentin Tobis, we've got Graham Farr, Rex Knight and Peter Francevic, the cousin of Robbie Francevic. They're the slower markers away. The entertaining drivers that we saw in the first heat on Saturday are away at the back of the field. Andrew Whittaker, Roger Townsend, Mike Booth. Roger Townsend putting on a magnificent display in that Ford BDA Escort from the South Island, a former top rally driver, and he certainly threw that around yesterday. So with me, Digby Pate, who probably wishes he was out there. You're normally out there in a field like this, aren't you, Digby?
I certainly would be like to be out there in my Cobra, but that's gone, so I've got to do something else today to get my hand in. And here we see the cars working hard. There's an XU1 throwing a bit of smoke behind, it looks like Graham Peffer's GTA Alpha.
There's a little Fiat Abarth replica car out there. We've got a husband and wife combination in those cars from Christchurch, Debbie Chapman and her husband Dennis Chapman out there in those identical cars, the little Abarths.
Now these guys will not only have to try and pass the car in front, of course they'll have to watch their rear view mirrors, because the faster cars are considerably faster, particularly the Tuscan, and there goes the Abarth replica, and there's the fast cars at the back of the grid, and Roger Townsend already, the rally champion, there he is, did so well yesterday, trying hard to catch up the front cars.
Roger Townsend is the man that has won the South Island Rally Championship. Look at that wonderful car. It's also the car that Paul Adams used to rally. We're going back a few years now, and it's being virtually rallied around the streets of the Wellington waterfront this time. Roger Townsend finished in second place yesterday. Couldn't quite get to the front, but we watched the action as Roger Townsend, we go back to that opening lap, he comes through the hairpin. He's trying so very, very hard. He puts the power down on the Escort and just throws it sideways. Exciting action from the South Islander, the car salesman from Christchurch, Roger Townsend. Digby, what's the eligibility to race in this class?
Well, first of all, it helps to know the Wellington organisers, and they invite basically their friends that have interesting classic cars. Japanese cars usually aren't invited. They're British, Italian and American cars with interesting histories. Now, here's an interesting car.
Is that Peter Brock?
Well, it looks like him. It's a replica of Peter Brock's car. Didn't do too well yesterday, but there he's carving past John Egden's hugely powerful 500 horsepower Monaro. So the Sierra might have been a bit of a sleeper yesterday, but here he goes today.
Well, it's nice to see the 05 Sierra powering around the streets of the Wellington waterfront. Unfortunately, it's not in the Nissan Mobile 500, and unfortunately as well, it's not Peter Brock. There's a lot of expensive motor vehicles out there. If you topped up the list and how much money was out there, there'd be a lot.
Yeah, I would say it's... Oh, hello. Looks like Keith Peffer into the wall. We'll check that in a minute. Could have been Ian Maskell. We'll get the number in a minute.
So 2 laps have been completed, and it's still the Winston Wrigley car, the Holden Monaro holding on to first place from the Quentin Tobis Mini. So you can see already a real mixture of cars, and that is the Lawrence Jones Jaguar that we've been watching, puffing lots of smoke, and also the BMW. That looks an expensive bit of smoke as well. And this is the action going back to the track as they come onto the Wellington waterfront again, and straight into the wall, a very, very hard bunt into the wall.
Yeah, that was Ian Maskell. I went to school with Ian, and he wasn't interested in cars at school whilst I was madly filling in pictures of cars in all my school books. He was playing rugby. Now he's racing, and he's good. But now he's had a bit of an accident today. He's a property developer in Wellington.
Well, after 3 laps, it's Winston Wrigley still holding on to first place. He got away from the back, well, he was at the back marker, so he's first. Peter Francevic moved up to second place now. Quinton Tobis in the Mini is third. Rex Knight fourth. Peter Blank in fifth place. And Carl Northcott is in fifth place.
This is unbelievable handicapping. We are going to have one hell of a finish in this race.
It's the MTA Drive Cars, Sports and GTs around the Wellington waterfront on race day for the Nissan Mobile 500. And this is a reverse grid, a handicap reverse grid race.
Peter Francevic indicating to let the Jaguar through, but he was faster. This car looks like it's driven off a showroom floor, the Cortina of Peter Francevic. Hassling away for second place. He was last year's organiser of the race and invited, or the last 2 years, got this series off the ground. Sefton Gibb runs it now, who races the Almac Cobra, who will be coming up to these cars shortly.
8 laps around the tight circuit, and some of these cars, being big cars, will be quite difficult to handle around this circuit, won't they, Digby?
Well, Winston's obviously proving that. Look how hard this car is to drive. He's had some great armfuls of opposite lock in his 350 Chev-powered Holden Monaro, and the Jaguar XJS, or XJ6, doing very well to hang on to him, and it looks like he's threatening for a pass.
The Jaguar has got past and now starts to put the pressure on Winston Wrigley. These are the leaders as they go past the start-finish line to complete another lap. They make the halfway mark. The MTA Drive Card Classic Sports and GTs, and Winston Wrigley sliding that big Holden Monaro through the little chicane, down to the hairpin, and in a straight line he'd opened up quite a big lead over the smaller cars, but there around the tight hairpin they're down to first, second gear, and they start to bunch up just a little, and it looks like the Peter Francevic car closing the gap. And a little bit of tight stuff back in the field at the hairpin as well, some touching, and we've got the
John Egdon, and that's Peter Francevic in the 124, held up in his progress there, and the Pine Pack Mustang sliding around the outside of him.
And Bruce Cottle just getting the little nudge in the door as well, so there'll be some panel damage for that car.
Roger Townsend and Wayne Anderson. This Camaro, 720 horsepower, this car. And the little BDA-powered Escort behind, 260 horsepower. He's the rally champion, three-wheel champion of the world, probably.
This is great racing. This BDA Escort is coming around some of these corners with only on three wheels. You just take a look at it. It's exciting racing. And you just love to be out there in that car. Look at it.
I would like to be his passenger. And he's having difficulty getting past this big V8 car, as you would expect. Probably leaps out of the corners a bit faster.
It's the Wayne Anderson car, and Roger Townsend behind him, but we look at a little bit of the action back on the AWA replay, and we've got the Viva almost losing it, correcting, coming back the other way. Car 129, and then straight into the block wall, very unforgiving, almost taking out the 05 car as well.
Here's a 289 powered Ford. No, that's the 351 powered Ford Coupe. Good fast car, but too big, too heavy for this circuit, and it had a huge crash here a couple of years, went into the drums, but it's been revived and he's back again.
Car 129 looked like it was Mike Eaton, actually a Vauxhall, that hit the wall very, very hard and won't be going too much further. Back at the front of the field, Winston Wrigley leading the MTA Drive Card Classic Sports and GTs, and now he's got a Jaguar on his rear bumper. There's the 73 car of Roger Townsend, the BDA Escort from Christchurch, a former rally-winning Escort. He's a rally driver and he just loves this circuit stuff. That's the car that was raced by Paul Adams many years ago in the rally scene in New Zealand. And he's carving his way through the field. Roger Townsend is now up to 10th place. And we look at the time difference, he's 15 seconds behind the leader.
Well, I don't know how he managed to do that, because he was behind the TVR Tuscan a while ago.
Well, we've got a car totally sideways on the track. Now that's blocking traffic, and that's coming down towards the hairpin on Jervois Key as they approach Custom House Key.
That's Peter Francevic in the Fiat 124 and a Mini. And certainly the fastest part of the track. A lot of cars hit the chicane, and looks like they've done that as well and spun off after they've gone through.
Well, they've virtually set up two chicanes on the start-finish straight, the Jervois Key, Custom House Key part of the Wellington circuit. They negotiate the one that's been set up by the organisers, and now they've put another one, and we have the action still on trackside. We watch the lights of Roger Townsend. He's got the lights on just to warn the other cars that he is coming through. We've heard that the pace car has come out onto the track. Roger Townsend carving his way through the streets of Wellington in the MTA Drive Card Classic Sports and GTs as we hear that the pace car comes onto the track.
And Roger Townsend has now hit the lead in the MTA Classic.
Well, action around the streets of Wellington. There's a hand up there. There's action in the chicane. There's the little Fiat Abarth, and it's the number 6 car of Michael Grant that goes sideways. That is no way to attack the chicane at all. In fact, doing heaps of damage to the rear of the car. Michael Grant spinning across the track, and that's going to create mayhem for the cars behind him. Roger Townsend slows down. He's certainly not driving in the same aggressive way that he was. They're on the final lap. Roger Townsend Holding on to second place will be Peter Blank in the Jaguar, with the number 68 car of Wayne Anderson, the Pine Pack Chev, in third place. So after 7 laps, the pace car's on the track, and this is how the MTA Drive Card Classic Sports and GT race will finish. Roger Townsend in the Ford, Peter Blank in the Jaguar in second place, Wayne Anderson comes home in third place with Winston Wrigley, Peter Francevic and Rex Knight.